rolling around at the speed. Hello, Gerard. Welcome to your bedroom. Matt Pack, it's good to see you. How did you get into my room? This is a massive security. I should have told my I don't have security guards. How did you get in?
Well, if you must know, your window was open.
Okay.
Yes!
Metroid Prime, Samus, push the Phazon into my chest.
Welcome to another episode of The Completionist. And today, guys, we have a very special guest here on the show. It's Matt Pat from Game Theory. Matt, great to have you here.
Glad to be here, Beardman. May I call you Beardman?
You can call me whatever you want.
Great! Beardy! You know what I noticed, Beardy, while looking over your channel?
What's that?
You don't do many FPSs, do you?
No, I'm not really a big fan of them.
You know what the kids like nowadays?
What's that?
First-person shooters.
I know.
You know what else they like nowadays? Sexy women in skin-tight clothing.
If only there was a game that combined both.
Oh, but there is, Beardy. There is.
Metroid Prime. I know that anyone who was anyone and had a GameCube owned this title.
It revived a series that hadn't seen a sequel in 10 years. But this game completely understands what it is, an FPS adventure.
First off, players! Also, but Batman and Game Genie! Didn't this game stray too far away from its roots? Why is everything becoming a first-person shooter? Why can't we return to the golden days of side-scrolling?
Well, Greg, we have to grow as gamers. See, if you want to be respected in the video game industry, you have to have an open mind and give whatever comes your way a fair shot. Remember, I even played Imagine Wedding Designers.
Gerard, I think you have a problem.
I know. I know. Our badass lady hero.
Heroin, Gerard.
Ha! No, Greg. That's a drug.
Our lady hero Samus is back and better than ever in this update and reimagining of the Metroid series. The story is still debated on when exactly it was supposed to all go down. It's been said that it takes place between Metroid 1 and 2, but there are references in Prime to the events at the end of Super Metroid.
The story is as follows. After receiving a distress signal from the space pirate ship the Orpheon, or Orpheon, curse you silent protagonists, Samus goes to investigate and is attacked by space pirates, then by a bigger alien called the Parasite Queen. After the Queen is killed, she falls into the ship's reactor and it starts to break apart. Right before the ship explodes, Samus catches a glimpse of her arch nemesis, Ridley.
Except this time, he's all cyborgy.
She watches him fly away towards the alien planet of Talon 4 and chases after him.
She soon finds ruins of the ancient civilization of aliens called the Chozo, and that many years ago, a meteor hit the planet that was filled with a substance called Phazon. The stuff that's kind of like the black goo in Spider-Man 3 specifically. It corrupts you and turns you evil. The space pirates see the profitability of the said goo and decide to mine it. And according to the ancient lore, the Phazon came along with a giant creature called the Worm. So they sealed it away in the temple with the 12 keys, or artifacts. So Samus has to find them before the space pirates do.
And remember, if you take the last shot, you have to eat the worm too. Try new Phazon brand tequila.
Here's where some of the die-hard Metroid fans of the series could get a little upset. In Prime, Metroid has been changed from a classic 2D side-scroller to a new-age first-person shooter-like game. You see everything straight from the perspective of Samus, and boy does everything look really pretty!
There are the occasional times when you're in ball mode that it goes to third person, but for 95% of the game, you're staring down the barrel of your arm cannon. Personally, I'm not a fan of first-person shooters, but Metroid Prime did it right. The first time your visor fogs up or a brief glare causes you to see the faint reflection of Samus's eyes, you immediately feel immersed in the world of the game. That attention to detail was what had me sold. I wanted to experience the story through her eyes. This was the single most criticized part of the game, and personally, I think it's one area where the game truly stands out. It was the next logical step for the franchise. Making the transition a little easier was the fact that the graphics are so darn good. Playing it almost 10 years later, it still feels relevant and modern.
Playing through Prime, you can definitely get that lost in space feeling. I think that Prime feels like a little bit of a blend of a PG-rated version of Dead Space, Half-Life, and Tomb Raider. Some of the levels seem like labyrinths, but they have some cool techno music to go with it. It keeps up the pace of the game, and every track fits the mood of the zone. Speaking of the music, they really knew how to tie in the original soundtracks of the first game too, and you gotta love that nostalgic little tune that plays when you get a new suit, weapon, or map of the area.
I feel so accomplished.
Another new addition to the series are the various cutscenes. In these little bits, we get to move outside of Samus's helmet and see what's happening. And let me tell you, these cutscenes are great at showing you just how big and nasty some of those bosses are.
Even though a lot has changed since the last installment of Metroid, well, with nearly 10 years prior, mind you, Prime feels refreshing, yet it feels very familiar. It's like it has the ability to resuscitate a cold franchise with new presentation and gameplay mechanics. Like I said before, they have done away with the side-scrolling in favor of the first-person perspective. Your main way of dispatching enemies and opening doors is your beam gun. Just like in the days of old, you can charge this up to make it more powerful. It also has a couple different versions that you can collect. You can shoot regular power shots, maybe a form of plasma, ice, and even a wave format. There's also an auto lock-on feature too that lets you strafe around while keeping your crosshair on the enemy. Now while locked on, you can strafe a particular way that can actually help you create a sequence break, getting you the space jump boots very early on. Snitches?
Glitches with Old Man Snitches. I remember that time that my feet were becoming very sore from not being able to run away from Diablo. My Tristram pumps weren't working so well, so I decided to go get these new space boots that allow me to jump twice very early on. It was quite difficult, but boy is it sure nice to wear these Herodric sneakers. Herodric sneakers, available now. Buy one and receive Wirt's leg free with any purchase. And then combine the leg with the Tome of No, don't do that.
Throughout the game, you'll find weird-looking hooks. Eventually, you can use the grappling beam on these to get to previously unreachable areas. Mind you, these mechanics aren't necessarily the most fleshed out, as this is an early entry in the series. Next, you have your missiles, which will open certain doors and help you kill off the bigger baddies. You can even use the missiles and the beam gun together to get some rather powerful combinations of death. Some doors and switches can only be used in conjunction with a certain beam, and you know what that means. A whole lot of backtracking once you get certain guns in the game.
Well, at least if you fall off a platform, it doesn't set you back that far, right? Right?
You have the ability to change your HUD, which is known as your visor. You can use the normal combat version for regular shooting and killing. Then there's the scanning visor, which you'll want to use a lot in order to complete the game, so you can scan enemies, certain computers, other contraptions to open doors as well. After that, there's the thermal visor, which lets you see everything that emits heat. And finally, the X-ray visor, which lets you see in dark places, and it also lets you see secrets and invisible enemies. And once you collect it, the world map becomes your best friend. And of course, this wouldn't be a Metroid game without your energy tanks, your power bomb upgrades, your missile upgrades. You guys know the rest.
Just like the visors, there are 4 different types of suits. You have your basic power suit, a heat-resistant suit, a gravity suit that lets you walk underwater, and the Phazon suit that makes you look like Venom. Yeah, Venom from Spider-Man. And resistant to Phazon deposits, go figure. You eventually get the space jump boots, which let you jump twice instead of once. This is extremely helpful and makes navigating a whole lot more efficient.
Just like in the other Metroid games, you can once again morph into a ball. In this mode, you can roll around at the speed of sound, drop bombs, and climb certain spider rail walls. Oh yeah, and you can also go turbo!
They see me rolling, they hating, patrolling and trying to catch me riding dirty.
Ever notice that Samus in ball mode looks kind of like the wheels on Tron bikes? I think we need to get a CGI version of you in this episode stat! Oh right, we don't make Disney money. Tron music montage? Nice.
Now that you have all of this stuff and have gotten familiar with how to harness its raw power, it's time to solve puzzles and do some jumping and shooting. Jump and shoot! And I mentioned it before, but you have to scan a lot of things. Don't get me wrong, as anyone who watches game theory knows, I love me some research. But Samus, girl, do you really need to scan every variety of item crate in this game? Come on! From doors to bosses, you're gonna be using that scan visor very frequently. And don't miss one of those one-time only scans either, because if you do, you can kiss a perfect completion of the game goodbye. What? A huge boss in front of me? Hold on for a few seconds, I need to read my suit's Wikipedia entry on you. Oh, and don't forget, you can't just save at any time. You have to find specific save points scattered throughout the level.
This game is described as a first-person adventure game. You travel from location to location on Talon 4 to try and uncover the secrets of the alien planet. The enemies range from experiments gone wrong, ghosts, and enraged and phazon-contaminated space pirates to, of course, the obvious Metroids. Now, for those of you who are not a fan of the backtracking and the certain changes in first-person perspective, let's go ahead and get our special celebrity guest to kind of put your mind at ease.
And now an episode of Good Times with Prime.
You get to shoot aliens that look like the Decepticons.
Catch us next time on Good Times with Prime.
So after you collected all your power bombs, your missile upgrades, your energy tanks, you scanned everything, you scanned all the enemies, all the computers, you've jumped and shot everything you can, and you collected all 12 ancient artifacts. It's time to face whatever evil lies within the artifact temple known as the Cradle. On your way there, you've got one more guy to deal with. He's not little, he's kind of annoying, and he's your favorite rival, Ridley. And of course, we defeat him and move on. The beast the Chozo called the Worm is actually none other than a mutated Metroid called Metroid Prime, who is not only a complete badass giant space spider scorpion demon thing, but he's also the source of the Phazon. Whatever. It's the source.
That translates to him being one mean mamma jamma. But this battle is another huge reason I love this game. It forces you to use practically every single ability you've gained throughout this game. It truly is the culmination of your adventure, testing you on what you've learned. He's a final boss that feels like a final boss. He's got plenty of firepower at his disposal, ranging from bombs to doom beams to just charging at you. There are a few different stages to this battle, as finishing off his space crab form leads him to transform into the core essence of Metroid Prime. You need to switch between each of your visor modes because he turns invisible, and then blast your way to glory with the Phazon Beam that you just so happen to acquire right before the final fight.
But before you kill both of them, be sure to scan them both to make sure that you fulfill your gigantic creature scanning book.
Oh, what is that evil giant massive? Wait, gotta scan it. Okay. Alright, that's all the scans. Nice, done. It's a giant space scorpion thing! It's gonna eat me and all my family!
Once the essence is defeated, a final Metroid form appears, and it pulls the Phazon suit off of you. The place starts to self-destruct, and you have to go ahead and avoid your death, and voila, evacuate the planet. You've saved the day once again from certain doom. But of course, we're completionists, so we've got one more thing to check out. So you've explored all of Talon 4, done all your scanning, and found all the items in order to gain 100% completion. What do you get? A 10-second cutscene after the credits of Dark Samus rising from the goop of Metroid Prime.
That's it. No cool suit, no super destructive weapon, no reason to play the game again. Just a short cutscene of what was to come in Metroid Prime 2. Now back in the day, this may have been worth it, back before the YouTubes and before the next game had come out, but now, not really worth all the work. Beating the game for the first time will get you the ability to play on hard mode. Getting 100% of the items, beating the game on hard mode, and collecting all the logs with the scan visor will unlock the image galleries. A lot of work for not that exciting of a reward.
Something that is not required for your completion percentage, but I did anyways because, well, you know. You need to get a copy of Metroid Fusion for the Game Boy Advance and have beaten the game at least once. Plug it into your GameCube via a link cable, and now you can play the NES version of Metroid.
You also get to use Samus's suit from Metroid Fusion in Prime, but you must have beaten Metroid Prime at least once to gain access to it. It's actually a toggle, so at any time you can turn it on and off from the main menu.
Hey Gerard, you forgot to mention the fabled 101% completion.
Oh yes, the rumor of 101%. Numerous reports have been made that it is possible to obtain 101% on a game save file. It somehow involved breaking the game and tricking it so you can collect 255 missiles instead of the max of 250. Having it would be cool, but there's actually no guarantee method of getting 101% at this time. No bonuses are included either. In fact, the 101% bonus collection gets carried over to things like Metroid Prime 2 and 3.
That's my little J-Man. Always going above and beyond.
Upon the first playthrough, this game takes a pretty decent amount of time, and I don't think the bonus isn't necessarily worth it. Yeah, it is fun to collect all the items, but doing all the scans for the images and lore can be a tad bit nerve-wracking, especially when you do your second run-through on hard mode to unlock the last image gallery, and you have to deal with Metroid Prime on hard mode. I'm fine. Not to mention, due to a crappy glitch, there are some enemies that can only be scanned once, and of course, those bastards would disappear and never come back because of broken game code. Ugh.
The whole 101% thing is very touchy because you have no control over it. Nobody knows how to get it, and most people think it's just a random glitch.
Metroid Prime was a great way for us to revisit the Metroid franchise, considering it's been years since we've actually seen an appropriate installment in the series.
It introduced so many new features while still staying true to what kept Metroid.
Now, completion-wise, it may not necessarily be worth the extra effort to view the last few seconds of what you'll see in the next game, which is Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. However, if you are a seasoned Metroid player, you'll love all the backtracking, all the collection stuff. Newcomers probably won't, but it's still a great time.
With that in mind, this game gets our completionist rating of... Finish it!
Finish it by saving the aliens.
So that's all the time we have for today, guys. As always, please leave a positive or negative comment in the section below. Mostly positive. And be sure you subscribe to The Completionist for more gaming goodness.
And guys, let's give a big thank you to MatPat for being here on the show, especially because we actually did a video with him on his channel called The Psychology of the Completionist on Game Theory. It's amazing. If you want to see it, click my face. Right now, click it.
So find out what happens inside this guy's head on my channel.
Feels pretty good.
Your hair feels crispy.
Now if you excuse us, it's time to enjoy some more good time with Prime.
I don't know if I have much more advice for you, other than to push the cube into my chest. Why, you ask? Well, that's where I want it. That's where I want the cube. Wouldn't you want a cube in your chest? Sam, you must push the cube into my chest. Don't act like it's weird. Come on. People do it for their robots all the time.